Kex-9 had seen exactly 17 different species surrender without firing a single shot. The Vorthak Collective had mastered the art of intimidation through overwhelming displays of technological superiority. Hover above their homeworld with a fleet of 500 ships, broadcast a message about protection services, and wait for the inevitable groveling response. It worked. Every single time, until today. "Sir, we're receiving a response from the third planet," Communications Officer Yelth announced, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. They're asking questions." Kex-9's mandibles clicked in annoyance. "Questions? What kind of questions?" "Well, sir, they want to know who exactly we're protecting them from." The bridge fell silent, except for the gentle hum of the ship's quantum processors. Kex-9 stared at the blue-green marble spinning peacefully below them. This was not part of the standard protocol. "Did you explain about the dangerous forces that threaten their system?" he asked, tentacles twitching with irritation. "Yes, sir." They asked for specifics, aims, locations, threat assessments. One of their representatives, a female named Captain Lisa Torres, actually requested our credentials. "Our credentials?" "She wants to see our license to operate as a protection service in this sector. Apparently they have something called Better Business Bureau standards." Kex-9's secondary brain started developing what humans might call a headache. In his 300 years of conquest, protection services, nobody had ever asked for paperwork. "Sir," Yelth continued, "they're also asking about our fee structure, complaint procedures, and something called customer testimonials." "Put me through to their leadership," Kex-9 growled. The main screen flickered to life, showing a room full of humans in colorful garments. They sat around a curved table, most of them appearing remarkably relaxed for a species facing imminent subjugation. The woman in the center, presumably Captain Torres, smiled pleasantly. "Hello there. Thank you for taking our call. I'm Captain Torres, representing Earth's United Defense Council. We've reviewed your generous offer of protection services." "Good," Kex-9 replied, his confidence returning. "Then you understand the wisdom of accepting our benevolent guardianship." "Oh, absolutely. We're very interested. But we do have a few teensy questions about the fine print." The way she said teensy made Kex-9's third stomach churn ominously. Captain Torres consulted a tablet. "First, regarding these dangerous forces you mentioned, could you provide their names, current locations, and estimated arrival times? Our insurance company needs this information for risk assessment purposes." "Your insurance company?" "Oh yes, Galactic Mutual. They cover interplanetary conflicts, but only if we've done our due diligence on threat evaluation. They're very particular about documentation." Behind her, another human, an elderly man with white hair, leaned forward. "I'm Admiral Peterson. I've been in the defense business for 40 years. Usually, when someone offers protection, they can tell you exactly what they're protecting you from. Otherwise, it's just a very expensive security blanket. We are the Vorthak Collective." Kex-9 bellowed, rising from his command chair. "We offer protection from the countless dangers that lurk in the void." "Oh, wonderful." Captain Torres clapped her hands together. "Could you be more specific? Are we talking about asteroid impacts, solar flares, hostile alien invasions, interdimensional portal breaches? Our emergency response teams need to know which protocols to activate." "Hostile alien," Kex-9's voice trailed off as he processed the absurdity of the situation. "Yes, that's actually another question," Admiral Peterson interjected. "Are you aliens?" "We are the Vorthak Collective," Kex-9 repeated, though with less conviction. "Right, but are you from Earth?" "No. We are from the Vorthak homeworld of Keth Prime." "So you're aliens. We are the Vorthak Collective." "Sir," Captain Torres said gently, "if you're not from Earth, then by definition, you're aliens. And if you're offering to protect us from hostile alien invasions, well, that creates a bit of a logical paradox, doesn't it?" The bridge crew exchanged glances. Yelth's 4 eyes were now blinking completely out of sync, a sure sign of cognitive distress. "Perhaps," Captain Torres continued, You could clarify whether you're protecting us from other aliens or from yourselves. This is preposterous. Kex-9's mandibles clacked furiously. You will accept our protection or face the consequences. Ah, now we're getting somewhere, Admiral Peterson said, leaning back in his chair with a satisfied expression. So you're threatening us unless we accept your protection services. In most jurisdictions, that's called a protection racket. It's basically the mafia model, added a younger human woman with short black hair. Dr. Maria Gonzalez, Xena Sociology Department, we studied your approach in graduate school. Chapter 7. Classical Extortion Patterns in Spacefaring Civilizations. Kex-9 felt his confidence evaporating like water in a vacuum. This is not. Oh, don't worry, Captain Torres said cheerfully. We're not judging. Everyone needs to make a living. But we do need to understand the business model before we sign any contracts. Contracts? Kex-9 whispered. Of course. Our legal department insists on proper documentation for all protection services. Standard boilerplate includes service-level agreements, dispute resolution procedures, termination clauses, and liability coverage. Nothing fancy. Detsy, a new human voice spoke from off-screen. We'll also need a comprehensive background check on all personnel who will be stationed in Earth orbit. FBI clearance, psychological evaluations, the works. FBI? Yalth asked quietly. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Dr. Gonzalez explained helpfully. They handle security clearances for sensitive positions. Having armed aliens hovering over our planet definitely qualifies as sensitive. Captain Torres nodded. We'll also need proof of insurance, references from previous clients, and a detailed breakdown of your protection methodology. Do you use active patrol schedules, early warning systems? Rapid response protocols? We hover menacingly and demand tribute, Kex-9 admitted weakly. Ah. Captain Torres made a note on her tablet. That's more of a level 1 protection service, very basic. We were hoping for something more comprehensive. What exactly did you have in mind? Kex-9 found himself asking, though he wasn't sure why. Admiral Peterson pulled up a holographic display. Well, for starters, our current defense network includes orbital monitoring stations, asteroid deflection systems, and rapid response fleets. We were hoping your service would integrate with our existing infrastructure. You have orbital monitoring stations? 17 of them, with full sensor arrays and communication relays, plus the deep space early warning grid, which extends about 12 light-years out. Haven't you noticed our ships patrolling the outer system? Kex-9 looked at Yalth, who was frantically checking sensor readings. Sir, I'm detecting a lot of ships. How did we miss them? They're painted black. Dr. Gonzalez offered. Stealth configuration. Standard patrol protocol. How many ships? Kex-9 asked, though he dreaded the answer. In the immediate area? Maybe 300. Admiral Peterson, what's our current deployment? Task Force 7 has 200 ships on patrol duty, plus the reserve fleet of 800 vessels. Then there's the Colonial Defense Forces, Merchant Marine, and the Irregulars. He paused thoughtfully. Call it 1,500 active ships, give or take. Kex-9 sat down heavily. 1,500. Oh, that's just in this system, Captain Torres added. We have defense agreements with 12 neighboring systems, plus our colonies in the Centauri cluster. If we included the full Allied defense network, we'd be looking at, what, Maria? Approximately 12,000 ships, last I checked. Though the Centaurians just launched their new heavy cruiser program, so that number's probably low. The Vorthak bridge crew stared at their sensors in growing horror. Slowly, signatures began appearing on their screens as the human ships dropped their stealth configurations. The space around Earth lit up like a festival. Now, Captain Torres said pleasantly, about those dangerous forces you mentioned, are they bringing more than 12,000 ships? Because our current defense posture is calibrated for threats of that magnitude. Kex-9's voice came out as a croak. 12,000 ships? Well, we like to be prepared, Admiral Peterson said with a shrug. After the Centauri incident, We adopted a policy of overwhelming defensive superiority. Better safe than sorry. What was the Centauri incident? Yalth whispered. Dr. Gonzalez brightened. Oh, that's a great story. Some pirates tried to raid our colony ships. Bad move. We tracked them back to their base, liberated about 40 enslaved civilizations, and accidentally conquered a small empire. Very embarrassing. We spent years giving the territory back to the original inhabitants. You conquered an empire by accident? It was a very small empire, Captain Torres said apologetically. More like a large pirate confederation, really. We were just trying to rescue our colonists. You rescue colonists by conquering empires? Well, we tried diplomacy first, Admiral Peterson said defensively, but they kept shooting at our negotiators. Eventually, we had to get creative. Kex 9 looked around his bridge. His crew was staring at the tactical display with expressions of existential dread. The number of human ships continued to climb as more signatures appeared. Sir, Captain Torres said, we appreciate your offer of protection. We really do. But we're a bit confused about what additional services you'd be providing that we don't already have covered. We, Kex 9 struggled to find words. Maybe you could start with a smaller job? Dr. Gonzalez suggested. Build up your reputation? There's always demand for asteroid mining operations, or courier services between systems. Courier services, Kex 9 repeated numbly. Oh yes, very respectable work. Good margins, steady clientele, much more reliable than the protection racket. Protection services industry. Captain Torres nodded enthusiastically. One. And if you're looking for actual protection work, we do have openings in our auxiliary defense forces. The pay isn't great, but the benefits are excellent, and you'd get full training on modern defensive systems. You want us to work for you? Maf, why not? We're always looking for qualified personnel. Your ships look sturdy, and you obviously have experience in security operations. With a little retraining, you could make a real contribution to interstellar peace and security. Admiral Peterson leaned forward. What's your experience with humanitarian missions? Disaster relief? Peacekeeping operations? We conquer planets and demand tribute, Kex 9 said weakly. Oh, Captain Torres looked disappointed. That's not really what we're looking for. However, Dr. Gonzalez added quickly, conquest skills do translate well to emergency response and disaster relief. Organization, logistics, rapid deployment, very similar skill sets. Plus, Admiral Peterson said, we could use more diversity in our command structure. Having Vorthak perspectives would strengthen our tactical planning. Kex 9 felt like he was drowning in politeness. You want us to join your defense force? Well, you'd have to pass the screening process, Captain Torres admitted. Background checks, psychological evaluations, competency exams. But assuming you qualify, absolutely. What if we refuse? Then you refuse, she said with a shrug. It's a free galaxy. Well, mostly free. We're still working on a few sectors. You wouldn't attack us? Captain Torres looked genuinely shocked. Why would we attack you? You haven't done anything hostile. We threatened to conquer your planet. Oh, that. We get those kinds of offers all the time. Last week, the stellar hegemony of Rigel sent us a very strongly worded ultimatum. The week before, it was the Galactic Empire of Vega. Honestly, we've got a whole department that handles conquest threats. A whole department? The Department of Hostile First Contact, Admiral Peterson explained. They specialize in de-escalating these situations. Very professional outfit. Dr. Gonzalez nodded. They've got a 97% success rate in converting hostile contact attempts into trade agreements or mutual defense pacts. What happened to the other 3%? Yalth asked nervously. Oh, they chose to remain hostile, Captain Torres said sadly. We tried to warn them about the Terran Defense Network, but they wouldn't listen. Very unfortunate. What happened to them? Well, let's just say that attempting to conquer a planet with 1,500 defending ships rarely ends well for the conquering fleet. Kex 9 slumped in his command chair. 300 years of successful intimidation, and he'd finally found a species that treated conquest threats like a minor bureaucratic inconvenience. Sir, Captain Torres said gently. Would you like to speak with our Department of Hostile First Contact? They have counselors who specialize in helping reformed conquerors transition to more constructive careers. Reformed conquerors? Oh yes, we've helped dozens of species make the transition. The Klingari Dominion now runs the most successful shipping company in the sector. The Draconian Empire started a very popular restaurant chain. There, the Void Hunters became archaeologists. Archaeologists? Well, they were already good at digging things up and taking them apart. It was a natural career transition. Kex 9 looked at his crew, all of whom were staring at him with expressions that clearly said, "This is your fault, sir." Perhaps, he said slowly, we could discuss employment opportunities. Captain Torres beamed. Wonderful. Let me transfer you to human resources. They'll get you started with the application process. The screen flickered, and a new human appeared, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a professional smile. Hello. I'm Janet Morrison, Director of Interspecies Relations and Career Counseling. I understand you and your crew are interested in exploring new career opportunities. Yes? Yes, excellent. Now, I see from your file that you have extensive experience in fleet operations, logistics, and personnel management. Those are very transferable skills. Have you considered a career in interstellar logistics? We used to be Conquerors, Kex 9 said weakly. Oh, I know. Many of our best employees come from military backgrounds. The discipline and organizational skills are invaluable in civilian roles. She pulled up a holographic form. Now, let's start with the basics. Full name, species, homeworld, current occupation, Galactic Conqueror, perfect. We'll put down Fleet Operations Specialist, much better for the paperwork. As the interview continued, Kex 9 found himself answering questions about his leadership experience, his crew's technical qualifications, and his long-term career goals. It was, without question, the most surreal conversation of his 300-year life. Somewhere in the middle of discussing vacation policies and health benefits, he realized that the humans had done something no other species had ever managed. They'd turned a conquest attempt into a job interview. And the strangest part was he was actually starting to think it might be an improvement over his current career. 3 weeks later, Kex 9 found himself sitting in what humans called a cubicle, staring at a computer screen that displayed shipping manifests for the Terran commercial fleet. His mighty conquest vessel had been redesignated as cargo hauler VCF 447, and his crew was currently attending mandatory sensitivity training. How are we adjusting to civilian life? Asked Janet Morrison, appearing beside his workstation with a steaming cup of something called coffee. I used to command a fleet of 500 ships, Kex 9 muttered, clicking through inventory reports. Now I'm tracking toilet paper shipments to the Proxima colony. Important work, Janet said cheerfully. Colonial hygiene is vital for maintaining morale. Plus, you're already showing excellent efficiency ratings. She was right, unfortunately. Kex 9's military precision had translated surprisingly well to logistics management. His cargo runs were consistently on time, under budget, and properly documented. It was humiliating. Sir Yulth approached, carrying a tablet and wearing what humans called a uniform shirt. The bright blue fabric clashed horribly with his natural coloring. I've completed the safety inspection checklist for next week's supply run to the mining station. A mining station? Kex 9 perked up slightly. Mining operations sounded almost military. Yes, sir. They need 3 tons of synthetic fertilizer, replacement air filters, and recreational supplies. What kind of recreational supplies? Yulth consulted his tablet. Board games, musical instruments, and something called romance novels. Kex 9's mandibles drooped. Even the mining stations were disappointingly civilized. Oh, that reminds me, Janet said. We have a special assignment for your team next month. High priority. Potentially dangerous, requires experienced leadership, finally. Kex 9 straightened in his chair. What kind of assignment? Humanitarian relief mission to the Kepler 442 system. There's been a massive solar flare, and 3 colony worlds lost their communication networks. We need to deliver emergency supplies and help with evacuation if necessary. The evacuation? This sounded promising. Large-scale military operations, coordination of multiple ships, life or death decisions. Exactly. You'd be commanding a fleet of 12 cargo vessels, 2 medical ships, and a mobile communication platform. I think you can handle it? Despite himself, Kex-9 felt a flutter of excitement. Commanding a fleet? Well, Fleet Logistics Coordinator is the official title. But yes, it's a big responsibility. The safety of 15,000 colonists depends on efficient supply distribution and evacuation planning. Kex-9 realized he was actually looking forward to the assignment. When had that happened? His contemplation was interrupted by a blaring alarm from the communications center. Janet's cheerful demeanor instantly shifted to professional alertness. Priority alert from Deep Space Monitoring Station 7 announced the facility's AI. Incoming vessels detected at the edge of the system. Configuration suggests hostile intent. Speak of the devil, Janet muttered, pulling up a holographic display. Looks like we have another protection service offer. The display showed a massive fleet of angular, heavily armed vessels approaching Earth's outer defense perimeter. Kex-9 counted at least 800 ships, all bristling with weapons and painted in intimidating colors. Oh, these guys look serious, Janet observed. Military formation, active targeting systems, the whole package. Much more professional than your approach. No offense, none taken, Kex-9 replied, though he felt oddly insulted. Captain Torres' voice echoed through the facility. All personnel to stations. We have incoming hostiles requesting immediate surrender and tribute payment. Standard Protocol 7 is now in effect. Standard Protocol 7? Kex-9 asked. Oh, you'll love this, Janet said, grinning. Want to observe from the command center? Consider it part of your orientation. Minutes later, Kex-9 found himself in the same room where he'd first encountered human bureaucracy. The main screen showed the approaching fleet, which had arranged itself in a classic intimidation pattern. Incoming transmission, announced the communications officer. The screen flickered to reveal a reptilian alien with elaborate armor and glowing red eyes. Everything about his appearance screamed serious military threat. Primitive inhabitants of the third planet, the alien bellowed. I am Supreme Commander Rask of the Hegemony War Fleet. Your system is now under our protection. Submit immediately or face obliteration. Captain Torres appeared on screen, looking as pleasantly professional as ever. Hello, Commander Rask. Welcome to the Sol system. I'm Captain Torres with Earth's Defense Council. Thank you for your protection offer. Commander Rask blinked, clearly not expecting politeness. You accept our terms? Oh, we're very interested. But we do have some questions about your service package. Kex-9 watched with growing amusement as Captain Torres launched into the same routine that had completely derailed his own conquest attempt. Within minutes, Commander Rask was looking confused and slightly desperate. We demand tribute of half your planetary resources. Rask tried to regain control. That seems excessive, Captain Torres replied thoughtfully. Our current protection budget is about 2% of gross planetary product. Could you work within those parameters? 2%? That's barely enough to fuel our fleet. Well, our previous protection providers worked within that budget. In fact, Kex-9 here has been doing excellent work with our logistics division. The camera panned to show Kex-9 sitting at the conference table, still wearing his bright blue uniform shirt. He gave a small wave. Commander Rask stared in horror. Kex-9, the terror of the Outer Rim? The destroyer of worlds? Actually, he's our senior logistics coordinator now, Captain Torres said proudly. Excellent efficiency ratings. Great team player. We're very happy with his performance. You work for them? Rask's voice cracked with disbelief. The benefits package is quite comprehensive, Kex-9 found himself saying. Health insurance, retirement planning, 3 weeks paid vacation. Plus, the work is surprisingly fulfilling. Fulfilling? Last month, I coordinated the delivery of medical supplies to a plague-stricken colony. We saved 14,000 lives. It was, satisfying in a way that conquest never was. Commander Rask looked like he was having an existential crisis. But you're the terror of the Outer Rim. I was also profoundly unhappy, Kex-9 admitted. Constant warfare, endless violence, no job security. This is much better. Captain Torres nodded. We find that most conquerors are actually seeking purpose and recognition. A good civilian career provides both without all the unnecessary bloodshed. I don't understand, Rask said weakly. Commander, Admiral Peterson interjected. What exactly are you hoping to accomplish with conquest? Resources? Territory? Glory? We might be able to suggest alternatives that don't involve threatening entire civilizations. We need resources for our growing population. Oh, that's easy. Dr. Gonzalez pulled up a holographic display. We have extensive colony programs, terraforming initiatives, and resource-sharing agreements. Much more efficient than conquest. Plus, Captain Torres added, if you're looking for challenging work, we always need experienced fleet commanders for exploration missions, emergency response, and peacekeeping operations. Janet Morrison appeared on screen. I'd be happy to discuss career opportunities with you and your senior staff. We have openings in system defense, interstellar commerce, and diplomatic services. Commander Rask looked around at his bridge crew, all of whom appeared to be listening intently to the humans' offers. You're serious about this? Absolutely, Captain Torres said. Some of our best people are former conquerors. They bring valuable skills and perspectives to civilian roles. What about my fleet? My reputation? My warrior's honor? Your fleet would be retrained for humanitarian missions. Admiral Peterson explained. Your reputation would be rebuilt around constructive achievements, and there's no greater honor than protecting the innocent and helping those in need. Kex-9 found himself nodding along. Commander, 3 weeks ago, I was in your exact position. I thought conquest was the only path to glory. I was wrong. How can you say that? You commanded hundreds of ships, and now I command relief operations that save thousands of lives. Which do you think history will remember more fondly? The conqueror who brought suffering, or the humanitarian who brought hope? The bridge fell silent except for the hum of ship systems. Commander Rask stared at the screen, his aggressive posture slowly deflating. What would happen to my crew? Full retraining programs, Janet said promptly. Career counseling, education opportunities, placement assistance. We have a 96% success rate in helping former military personnel transition to civilian careers. And if we refuse? Captain Torres shrugged. Then you refuse. Though I should mention that our defense network has been tracking your fleet since you entered the system. You're currently surrounded by about 2,000 ships, all with weapons locked on your position. The tactical display updated to show the true scope of Earth's defensive deployment. Commander Rask's 800 ships were completely surrounded by human vessels that had materialized from apparently empty space. 2,000 ships, Rask whispered. We've been busy since the Centauri incident. Admiral Peterson said apologetically. But they're all on defensive settings. Nobody's going to shoot unless you fire first. We could destroy your entire fleet, one of Rask's officers pointed out. Probably, Captain Torres agreed. But then you'd have to deal with the remaining 15,000 ships in our deep space reserves, plus whatever our allies contribute. The Centaurians alone could probably match your numbers. Dr. Gonzalez leaned forward. Commander, can I ask what you're really trying to achieve here? Not the conquest part, but the underlying goals. What do you want for your people? Rask was quiet for a long moment. Security, prosperity. A future for our children, all achievable through peaceful means, she replied gently, and with much better long-term prospects than endless warfare. Kex-9 stood up. Commander, may I speak directly to your crew? Rask nodded numbly. Warriors of the hegemony. Kex-9 began. I know what you're thinking. This seems like surrender, like weakness, but I've learned something important these past weeks. True strength isn't about who you can defeat, it's about who you can save. He gestured to the humans around him. These people could have destroyed my fleet. Instead, they offered me a chance to be better than I was. They saw potential in me that I didn't even know existed. But we're warriors. One of Rask's officers protested. So was I. Now I'm a warrior against suffering, against despair, against the kind of hopelessness that drives people to conquest in the first place. It's more challenging than any battle I ever fought. Commander Rask slumped in his command chair. I spent 50 years building this fleet, and now you could spend the next 50 years using it to help people. Captain Torres said, "Your choice, Commander." The silence stretched for nearly a minute before Rask spoke again. "What's the first step?" Janet Morrison's face lit up. "Well, we'll need to arrange temporary housing for your crews while they undergo orientation. Then there's skills assessment, career counseling, and placement interviews. It's a comprehensive process. But we'll support you every step of the way." "I can't believe I'm saying this," Rask muttered. "But where do I sign?" 2 hours later, Kex-9 found himself giving Commander Rask a tour of the logistics center, explaining shipping schedules and inventory management systems. It was surreal beyond description. "So we track every shipment from origin to destination," he explained, pointing to the holographic display. "Delays, damages, shortages, everything gets logged and analyzed." "It's very thorough," Rask said, looking somewhat overwhelmed. "That's the key to successful humanitarian operations. You can't help people if you don't know what they need or when they need it." Health approached with a tablet. "Sir, we just received confirmation for the Kepler 442 relief mission. Fleet deployment begins in 72 hours. Relief mission?" Rask perked up with interest. "Emergency humanitarian operation," Kex-9 explained. "Solar flare damaged 3 colony worlds. We're coordinating supply delivery and potential evacuation. That sounds important." "Gosh, the most important work I've ever done," Kex-9 said, and realized he meant it completely. Janet Morrison appeared beside them. "Commander Rask, I have your preliminary assignment. Our Colonial Development Office could use someone with your logistical experience. You'd be helping establish new settlements in recently discovered systems. Building instead of conquering? Exactly. Same organizational skills, completely different outcome." Rask considered this. "And my fleet? Retrained as construction and supply vessels. Heavy cargo capacity, perfect for colony establishment operations. I commanded the most feared fleet in 7 sectors," Rask said slowly. "And now you could command the most helpful fleet in 70 sectors, Janet replied. As they continued the tour, Kex-9 reflected on the absolute absurdity of his situation. 6 months ago, he'd been a terrifying galactic warlord. Now he was enthusiastically explaining procurement procedures to another former warlord who was seriously considering a career in urban planning. The humans had done something unprecedented in galactic history. They'd turned conquest into a career counseling session, warfare into a job interview, and galactic terror into employee orientation. And somehow, impossibly, it was working. "Sir," Yulth interrupted his thoughts. "Incoming transmission from the Deep Space Monitoring Grid. We have another fleet approaching the system." Kex-9 sighed. "What do they want?" "Protection services, sir. Same as usual." "Well," Kex-9 said, turning to Commander Rask, "want to observe your first career counseling session. Consider it professional development." As they headed back to the command center, Kex-9 marveled at the strange turn his life had taken. He'd come to Earth as a conqueror, and found his calling as a humanitarian. He'd arrived seeking to dominate and discovered the joy of service. The humans hadn't just defeated him, they'd saved him. And judging by the growing number of former warlords now working in various civilian roles throughout human space, he wasn't going to be the last. The galaxy was about to become a much more interesting, and significantly more helpful, place.